Hi, everybody. How are you? I am so excited to be coming to you live this morning from Sydney. I'm Joanna Frankham, Jo, from Joanna Frankham Coaching. I'm a certified health coach, blogger, and the creator of AIP Reset, your 30-day online program to help refine your AIP groove. I've been living an AIP lifestyle for 5 years to mitigate my hidradenitis suppurativa skin disease. It's transformed my life. Today, I'm really excited to be talking to my wonderful friend, Sophie, and you will already know Sophie as the uber-talented blogger from A Squirrel in the Kitchen. She's the author of the wonderful Simple French Paleo, and now, the newly minted, the Autoimmune Protocol Made Simple cookbook with a foreword from Sarah Ballantyne herself. So the good people at Booktopia sent me my copy of Sophie's fabulous cookbook earlier than I expected. I think I might have been one of the first people in the world.
Yeah,
so
you were the first in the world.
Which just blows me away being down here in Australia. So I've had a chance to really check out Sophie's baby. And I think it's really going to become, genuinely, one of these go-to AIP resources. It's so fantastic. So I'm so pleased to be talking with Sophie today. And we've got Daphne and Amanda joining us. Hello, you two. Thanks for joining. Sophie was diagnosed, for those of you who don't know, with Hashimoto's in 2009. And she's been using the Autoimmune Protocol to reverse her symptoms. She's on a personal mission. I love this because you know me, I'm all about personalizing AIP to make the AIP framework more accessible. So, Sophie, I'm so pleased that you're joining me today. Thank you and welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, Joanna. Thank you so much. You know, one thing I find funny is that it's winter for you. We can all see this with your sweater and your big scarf. And here it's summer and we are sweltering. That's the magic of internet.
I quite fancy being in Colorado, actually, going for a nice bushwalk with you. That sounds quite nice.
Yes.
Maybe next time. Okay, let's kick things off because I really want to talk to you about this fabulous new cookbook. Why don't we ask you to describe the Autoimmune Protocol Made Simple to us? What should readers expect from this cookbook?
That's a very good question. And the idea behind this cookbook was to make the autoimmune protocol accessible for everyone. Because at the beginning, it feels so overwhelming. You know, you just received your diagnosis and you're feeling bad, you are not at your top, and, you know, a lot of things going on. And on top of all this, you have to change everything you have been doing in the kitchen up till now. It's very overwhelming and maybe even frustrating. I know it was for me. So I wanted to create recipes that were yummy because, I mean, like if I'm a foodie. I love food. I've always loved food. I love to eat. And I didn't want to give that up. So I wanted to combine accessibility and healthy and AIP compliance. So that's what happened in this cookbook. So the recipes are simple, not too many steps to follow, no weird ingredients. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And then there's an introduction also at the beginning of the book. There is an intro to AIP, but it's more a need to know kind of information because, you know, there have been like books written before me, very scientific, very thorough by Sarah Ballantyne, by Nikki Trescott. And I didn't want to do this again. I wanted to have something short, simple, so people could get on the AIP fast to get results fast.
Two things. I would say one of the things that I really admire about you is your ability to combine nutrient-dense flavors in a way that has got a European twist to it. So, you know, liberal use of herbs, unique ways to combine different ingredients that I wouldn't expect. So, for example, your strawberry and beet salsa, which just looks amazing. But I also love the fact that it's very easy, and I think you talked about that when you start AIP, to feel overwhelmed and to focus on all the things you can't have. And your approach is very much about, it's an above-the-line approach. It's all about plenty and what you can have and celebrating the fresh, tasty, seasonal, good food. And it's also damn colourful. It just looks amazing. So I salute you for that, because I think that you really celebrated the autoimmune protocol framework in terms of what you can have and how to make it exciting.
Sorry, I was going to say that's a very good comment, that let's not focus on what we can't have, because that's not fun at all, and let's focus on what we can have. And there is a bounty of vegetables and fruit and also, proteins and that we can eat. For example, before I started the autoimmune protocol, I never had spaghetti squash. I never had collard greens.
You taught me how to cook spaghetti squash. You taught me.
Well, before I started AIP, I had never tasted that. So I discovered a lot of vegetables, and there is actually a lot of stuff you can eat.
When I do this with my clients, one of the things that I did that I found really helpful when I was in my elimination phase was to try one new untried vegetable every week. Because there's so many vegetables out there, and we know now that the more diverse our vegetable intake is, the better it is for our gut, right? So when you set yourself a goal of trying one new vegetable a week, which is so much easier when you've got a great cookbook that you can draw inspiration from, you start playing with it, right? And it makes it exciting to eat this way.
It does. And I have a question for you. Did you taste a vegetable that you didn't like?
No, I haven't. I can tell you, hand on heart, I can't eat mushrooms. So, and I wish I could, because I think they add an umami sort of flavor to stuff that I've never been able to eat mushrooms. But I now have Jerusalem artichokes. I love Jerusalem artichokes, and I make whenever they're in season, we eat them roasted with rosemary and duck fat. We put them in soups. What else? Kohlrabi, Daikon radish. I use that all the time. I love Daikon radish. I'm interested from those that are actually live on the call if they've got any unique or new vegetables that they've introduced since starting the autoimmune protocol, because it might give us some ideas, Soph.
While you check the comments, I have to tell you, I never liked okra. That one, I just can't.
I don't know that okra is that easy to come by here, and I think there must be a secret to cooking okra, because it can be a bit sort of slimy, can't it?
It's not the secret, and we need someone to tell us.
Now, is it okra that has got prebiotic components? I know that Jerusalem artichoke's full of prebiotics, really good for your gut. So I wonder if okra is the same.
I wouldn't be able to tell you that.
Amanda is saying she still can't do okra even after 13 years in the Middle East, where it's eaten a lot. Prebiotic. And Amanda she eats a lot of vegetables and a very diverse range of them. I know her. If you follow her on Instagram, her bowls, her AIP bowls, they make my mouth water. So okay. Well, let's drag it back in and ask you, if you had to describe this book in 3 words, what 3 words would you use?
Nutrient density, variety, and simplicity.
Oh, awesome words. Fantastic. Okay, so we've had one question from an Instagram follower who asks if you could sort of give an overview of the highlights of the recipes in the book. how would you do that?
Yeah, so I'm gonna use my cookbook for this, right?
Yeah,
so the first chapter is homemade basics and staples. And well, in that one, like this one is breaking the internet right now, the focaccia.
It looks amazing. I do believe you might have sent me a little can you test this recipe email at some stage. So
you were my tester, you remember?
I do.
Well, this one is breaking the internet.
It looks amazing too. That photograph is so fabulous.
And these babies, the turmeric tortillas. So they're just AIP tortillas, regular, but you add turmeric for the anti-inflammatory benefits. And they are delicious. They are easy to make. So
Amanda says she's going off to buy some yeast today to make your focaccia.
Yeah. So wait, about the focaccia. So yeast, active dry yeast is AIP compliant, because I've seen the question popping up on Facebook. It's a very little known fact, but it's AIP compliant. But because there is no gluten used in this focaccia, it's not gonna rise like you used to. Like make your bread rise, guys, right? It's not gonna rise much, but I use the yeast because it gives that little special taste that I was looking for in a bread. That, you know, so it's just a warning.
It is amazing. It is amazing though, this feeling that, oh my goodness, I am eating AIP compliant bread. I mean, it just blows my mind that you have created a bread that is AIP compliant.
Well, you know, the inspiration was coming. I just saw them at the store, but they were full of gluten, and I was just salivating in front of them, and I told myself, I need to do this. Okay, so in the breakfast, so the easiest, when you are on AIP, the easiest for breakfast is just to reheat something from the night before, or something that you have been batch cooking, because that will save time. But if you are having a hard time at the beginning to eat meat and vegetables for breakfast, I've come up with a few AIP options that still look like, you know, SAD food. I have the grain-free and nut-free granola here.
That's on my list of things to try.
Yeah, easy to make, and you just mix it with coconut milk. And then there's this express cauliflower oatmeal. So the base is just cooked cauliflower with coconut milk once again, and this is delicious. It looks like regular oatmeal.
Porridge for those people who are down here.
Sorry?
Porridge.
Porridge. Yes, I love your accent. Porridge. And this one also. Iced coffee with a creamer.
I could have done with that in my elimination phase, Miss Sophie. I wish you had been making this cookbook 5 years ago.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say, I wish I had been your tester for this one. So this is really good. So this was the breakfast. I'm going to the next chapter, the small bites. So small bites, it's like little snacks and like happy hour appetizers type of things. So this was a lot of fun to write and to test. My favorite, yes, this. The AIP nachos.
That's one of my questions. Is that your favorite?
Very close. You know, if you ask me what's my favorite recipe in the whole cookbook, I can't answer that question. Please ask me what are my 3 favorite ones.
Okay, well, while you're going through talking about the different sort of recipe types, please share your 3 favorites. That would be marvelous.
This is one of them, definitely. Yeah. Because, you know, it's like, ooh, I'm eating nachos, guys. Like I'm eating like before, and this is so much
like normal people food. Yeah.
Yes. Well, normal people will love this.
Yeah.
I guarantee. All right. So another one that I really like in this chapter. Well, everybody knows about the cheese, right?
Yeah, you broke the internet with that.
Like the dairy-free cheese. So this is delicious. It looks like you are eating cheese, and this one you can slice it up and eating on a cracker, like there's the recipe in the cookbook also, or it melts, so which means that you can grate it or slice it over hot food and it will melt. All right, so in the soups and salads, The one on, I think it's on the cover, the Jicama Mango. So refreshing. I just love it. By the way, I have a machine to julienne cut the vegetables. I don't do all this by hand. It takes too much time. Another one, yeah, the tabbouleh. Refreshing tabbouleh. You know, this screams summer and barbecue and let's have fun together. I love this one as well. In the soups.
That one. My favorite looking. This is my favorite looking one.
That one. I've worked hard on that one. And wait, because that's the seafood. Wait, you've gone too fast.
I was waiting for you to get to soup.
So, the white minestrone. So no pasta, no potatoes, no tomatoes, but still 100% delicious. I recommend this one. So that's the soups and salads. I can't show everything, so I have to skip them. No. So we are in the vegetables. Ooh, if you are a curry person.
That looks so beautiful.
Vegetable curry. Curry on AIP is possible. I have the proof. Oh, this one. This is comfort food. A sweet potato gratin.
Who took photographs, Sophie? Because the photography is just so beautiful.
Oh, I'm glad you are asking. So on this one, I worked with a very close friend here in Longmont. Her name is Lisa Pachem, and she's a food photographer. So she's the one making this amazing photography.
It makes you want to reach into the book and taste. The photography is beautiful. It really is.
Thank you. I will let her know. Maybe if we have the time after, I can give you a little behind the scene gossip, because we did all the shooting at my house. It was.
We want all the dirt. We want all.
First, we talk about the food. So the gratin, but there is a special ingredient. It's the nutritional yeast, which gives a little cheesy, nutty taste. Yeah, exactly. All right, so now we are in the...
Amanda's saying you start eating with your eyes. And morning, Tanya.
Yes, this one, that's an easy one. Everybody loves it. Tacos for the meat lover with the turmeric tortillas. And in there is a pulled pork recipe that's to die for. Like the smells in the kitchen when you cook this in the slow cooker. We are slowly getting to the seafood chapter, and I have to mention, yes, that seafood chowder.
I bow down to you for this, because I live with a dude who can't eat shellfish. And,
I know.
And well, for a start, I miss it. So every time I go out to dinner, which I now do, now that I've reintroduced foods, I'm the first cab off the rank at eating shellfish, like oysters and scallops and mussels. But to have a seafood chowder that is completely free of shellfish, that looks so amazing.
It tastes amazing. This is a favorite. Maybe this is number one for me. And by the way, I also can't do shellfish. So that's why I decided to have a seafood chowder with just fish. So it's safe for everyone. All right, let's skip everything and let's go to the dessert chapter.
Hello, Mon. Nice to see you.
So in the dessert, well, these are very popular too. The little gut healing turmeric gummies. I know you are a big fan of gummies, Joanna, right?
I am a big fan of gummies.
Yes. So it's like, gelatin, turmeric, and a little bit of honey.
Yeah, they're so simple, those little turmeric gummies of yours. Hello, Kathy in Minnesota. It is very easy to be hungry looking at Sophie's cookbook. How many of you on the call have got a copy of the cookbook? Amanda, I know you have one. Have you got a favorite recipe that you've been eyeing up? I know you try everything. So is there one that's really sort of jumping out at you? What else have you got for us, Soph?
Yes, so, okay, this one, the Cherry Crumble. I don't know if you...
I looked at that. That just looks to die for.
It is, and I'm kind of sad that, the picture of the plate is hidden by that little insert, but this is so delicious. I love crumbles. You just put whichever fruit you have on hand, and you have this delicious little crust on top. And so this one is a...
Tanya is saying that her gummies stick to the molds, Sophie. As the recipe developer extraordinaire, what advice would you have?
So is she using silicone molds?
Is it a silicone mold, Tanya, or is it just like a plastic mold? Because if it's a silicone mold, that I'm a little bit surprised by that. But my suggestion would be to put just a smidge of coconut oil or olive oil in the bottom of the mold before you put in the gummy mixture. But so it is silicone. Yes, it's silicone. I wonder if you're using enough gelatin.
Or you can, like, if it's the forms, like, you know, those little rectangular with forms in there, if it doesn't want to come out and you can just pop them up, you just run them under hot water for a few seconds.
That's a good piece of advice.
Yeah. And then if you are using a regular dish, because you don't have the mold, you don't need molds to make gummies. No. You can use a rectangular glass dish.
A Pyrex dish, yeah? Yeah.
And then I recommend to line it with parchment paper. So it won't stick to the bottom.
Oh, you heard it here first, Tanya.
So, yes, I would like to say also about the desserts. I don't have a picture for this one, but these are amazing. The little mini raspberry cheesecakes.
Well, on that recommendation, I might have to make them.
You have to. And you don't need a special mold for this. Well, kind of. You are using a muffin mold.
Oh, yeah.
With all those little rounds, and you just put the little paper-shaped cups, and that's how I do the mini cheesecakes.
Yum.
So voila, that's an overview, but they are all delicious. Like,
I want you to know that I have not had breakfast, and I am now very hungry. So, thanks. Okay, so we've talked about your favorites. You've got your top three: the nachos, the shellfish-free seafood chowder. What was the third one?
I didn't give another one. Like the first one, like the Miss Universe recipe.
Yeah.
Oh boy. You know what?
Amanda's saying she's going to make those cheesecakes for her husband's birthday next week.
There is one that I really like, and it's this, the tummy soothing popsicles.
Ah, nice.
These are popsicles that are made with lemon juice, fresh ginger, mint, and honey. So these are known to soothe your stomach when you have nausea and that you're not feeling like really up to par. So these are really good for upset stomachs, but they are like crazy good. Like when I was testing them, I kept making them because they are so delicious. And
it's again, the food, right? When you're testing it, you can eat it because it's good for you. It's nutrient dense. So.
Yes.
So, Sophie, you've got all these amazing recipes. When did you sort of start developing your passion for cooking and creating all these amazing meals and recipes and ideas? Where does it come from?
So I've been thinking about that. Where does it come from? Because I didn't go to any culinary schools, right? I'm a self-made chef. Is that how you say it?
Self-taught.
Self-taught chef. Say that 3 times really fast. But I think that I grew up in Belgium, and my grandmother on my father's side had a farm, and she was growing all her vegetables. She had a huge garden, and she had everything, and she was spending hours working in there. And then she had fruit, and she had chickens, she had lamb, she had little rabbits. And so I grew up connected to the earth, connected and seeing where the food was coming from and how it tasted when it was really fresh, because, you know, she would go get the vegetables from the garden and she would start cooking with it, and it was delicious. So I think
what a gift to have that.
It was. And you know what's sad? I didn't realize it at the time. You know, I was just a little kid running around. But I think that my love and my respect for good food came from there. Like respect for real ingredients and for healing and health promoting foods. And then later, my mom was cooking at home. You know, restaurants were pretty expensive where I grew up way back when. And we didn't go out a lot. And so everything was done at home, cooked from scratch. Sorry. And so I saw my mom cooking. And then when I got married, I just naturally started cooking myself. And that's how it started, I think.
It's interesting, isn't it? I come from a foodie family too. And my mum was quite experimental by New Zealand standards when I was growing up. You know, we would have things like, pressed tongue made from scratch and chicken liver pate and tiramisu latte at a time when Fisher's Roe was unheard of in New Zealand. And I didn't really start, I was a foodie, but I wasn't a cook until I turned about 30, when I realized that if I really wanted to eat the way I wanted to eat, I was going to have to learn how to do it myself. But
it's never too late to start to learn.
And it's like anything, right? It's just practice. It's just practice, and it comes. But it's made easier when you've got inspiration through books that provide you with beautiful looking recipes. So, So if you were to provide advice to somebody just starting out on the protocol, because, we've been doing this for a long time now, somebody that was just sort of, I'm about to start with AIP, what's the one recipe that you would recommend that they make as the first recipe?
Again, that's difficult because, everybody's cravings are different. I would recommend to make something that you can batch cook because, hunger is a very wise counsel, a very bad counsel. Like when you are hungry, that's when you are going to go off the wagon and make a bad choice. So every time you put some effort into preparing something in the kitchen, make it count, which means make more of it, not just for one meal. And I have 2 slow cooker recipes here in the cookbook. I'm going to them. The first one, you're going to love this one. It's the oxtail stew.
I will love it. Yep.
And I think that you have a version on your blog as well. So the oxtail stew, the slow-cooked oxtail stew, that's a really good one. And the slow-cooked plum chicken stew. So
that really appeals to me, that with all that lovely stone fruit. So Mon is just saying that you've had Sophie can't see the comments, so I'm just repeating what you're writing, that she's saying that you've had the best possible inspiration with your grandmother in Belgium in the countryside. And Tanya's suggesting bone broth. And there is a recipe for bone broth in the cookbook, which I was very happy to see. And I agree with you, Tanya. I think if I was to recommend one recipe to people just starting out, it would be to get your head around regularly making bone broth, because it is the foundation for so many good, nutrient-dense, easy options on AIP. And bone broth is used in the oxtail stew and in the chicken, so you do need to be able to make bone broth.
True.
So Mon is saying, soup for breakfast gets me through the tricky times. I agree, breakfast soup is, once you get your head around it, it's great. And Tanya's asking, can you do the chicken plum stew in a pressure cooker on high pressure?
Sure. I'm sure. What I would do, so in the pressure cooker, the trick is that you don't want your meat barely cooked and your vegetable overcooked, and that's the trick. But chicken cooks really quickly, so you can put it in the pressure cooker at the same time. I would do it like for 15 minutes. Put everything in the pressure cooker for 15 minutes.
Yep.
Do you agree with what I said?
I absolutely agree. And the bone broth recipe is on page 34, Kathy, just so that you know. I absolutely would agree. I think the thing with the pressure cooker, and unlike you, Tanya, I actually prefer a pressure cooker to a slow cooker for a number of reasons, but not least because of the bench space, but in my tiny little kitchen. But the thing is not to overcook. So I would say 15 to 20 minutes at pressure would be enough too. Tanya saying thank you.
You're welcome. And I like my vegetables usually between al dente and cooked, but I don't like them mushy. It's like, I feel like all the vitamins are gone when they are mushy. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but...
You know, Sophie, you, it's in Simple French Paleo. It's not in this one, but I think it's on your blog as well. Your No Nightshade Ratatouille. It's one of my all-time favorite recipes in the world. And what I love is any excuse to add more vegetables in a diverse range. So you are getting one plate with all of these different vegetables, and it's so I don't have to make 5 different types of vegetables. It's all in that one lovely. I just love that recipe. I love it.
And I think that you have it on your blog on the review that you did, so people can go to your blog and they will get the recipe.
Well, thank you for that shout out. I do, yes. So talk to me about, and I'm sure people watching are going to be interested in this. What did you enjoy most about the process of creating this cookbook? I mean, it's a big job. So what was the fun bit?
I love writing cookbooks. That's the fun part for me. Like the hard part is the marketing. Like after when the book is done and you have to promote yourself and sell your book, that I don't enjoy that part as much. Because I'm someone who's more comfortable in the kitchen with my pans and clanking everything. But I love experimenting, like coming up like,
creative process that you really love.
The creative process. And yeah, that's what I enjoyed the most. And it was fun working with the photographer this time because she's a very close friend and we work together. We have a connection. And so that was very much fun too. And working with the publisher, my publisher was fantastic. I was a little bit wary at the beginning. So my first cookbook, A Simple French Paleo, is self-published. Which means that I did everything myself from beginning to the end. Because I was scared at that time that by working with the publisher, I wouldn't be able to meet all the deadlines and the requirement. And I was still, working with symptoms at the time with my health. So I took the safe route. But so this time, this publisher reached out to me and I thought, why not? I met the challenge because, it's like, I've been very sick, like a lot of us. Like a lot of us listening to this video, you will recognize yourself in this. We have all been in a place where we thought, okay, I'm never going to make it. I'm never going to get out of this hole. And I did. And now just being able to meet this challenge and to make it happen, it was so empowering for myself. Like to put the sickness behind me and to recover from it and to thrive after. It's such a treasure.
I think it's really good that you've brought that up because I think people who are, we've been doing this a long time. We've known each other for a long time. And that's one of the lovely things about this autoimmune community is the connections and how inclusive it is. But, nobody comes into AIP on a whim, right? It takes a level of commitment. And usually it's when we are feeling pretty low and we are desperate to try something to mitigate whatever symptoms it is that we have. And it can seem like this big, hairy beast. And how are we going to achieve all of this? And I think the message there is start where you are now, right? People, a lot of the bloggers, and it's great to see new bloggers coming along because a lot of the bloggers that have been doing this for a while, we've been through a number of iterations of this, but we were there once, right? We were navigating this and working out that, we start with the diet, and then we start working on the lifestyle stuff. And, you know, how's your sleep? How's your stress? And I'm going to come to a question on that, Sophie. Oh, Kathy, you gorgeous woman. She's saying that we are inspiring. That's
well, you know what? You know what is inspiring us? It's all of you. You know, that's why we do all this, and then we put out what we are doing. You know, you followers who are so courageous and curious and want to heal yourself and take this on. I think that's fantastic.
So Mon is saying, and along comes hope. And I agree with you, Mon. I think that's what AIP does, is it gives you that hope at a time when it can seem hopeless. And Tanya is saying that we've probably all been there, too scared to eat because of, you know, what possible reactions we might have from food. So, yeah. And this is why it's good to have the conversation, right? It's really good to hear stories of people that have gone before you. So, yeah, I think it's... And you get to catch up with friends who live in different parts of the world, which is wonderful. So, you know, we talked about what you love, the creative process. What's the frustrating bit? Is it the marketing piece? Is it the having to put yourself out there and actually show your face?
Definitely. This barrier that's between me and the rest of the world. Like, we feel like we are connecting with everyone, but there's still like a distance. And I would like to be able to reduce that distance and meet all of you one-on-one. Because sometimes it feels like you're so far away and it's difficult to reach out and to find you, and it's difficult for you to find us, you know, bloggers. That's the frustrating.
Well, the other thing is, we know that with autoimmune disease, right, social sort of isolation and disconnection is very real. So tapping in, I keep moving over this way and I'm conscious that I'm sliding out of the picture. I think that one of the wonderful and happy things that come out of this autoimmune protocol community is this connection with people. And it's, you know, the community is diverse, so you don't need to connect with everybody, but there are going to be people that you identify with and whose story resonates with you. And by talking about it, by having a conversation, you make things more accessible, which is what we're both trying to achieve. So that's absolutely true. And Kathy, I agree with you, one bite at a time. And Mon's saying, yes, elephants and nutrient density. So, yeah, I love all of these analogies that we're coming up with.
Did she say elephants? And
yes, so there is no, this is English as a second language, right? So there's an analogy. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, meaning that when you have a big, big goal, you start with small goals. So we start with diet, and we start with, you know, adding nutrient density and focusing on all the good things that we can do for ourselves, which brings me to my next question very nicely. So thank you very much, Mon and Kathy. You know, creating a cookbook like this, it's a massive project. And I know that there's other stuff going on in your life, like moving house. So that, coupled with the Sophie perfectionism that we all know and love so well, what steps are you now taking to decompress, to manage your stress, either during the creative process, or now after, now that the cookbook is coming out? What have you done to consciously and intentionally manage your stress?
Let me think about this. Because you know, of course you know, because you are a very close friend, that while I was writing this cookbook, actually I was also going through a divorce, unfortunately. It's not something that I talk a lot about because it's still very recent and it's not just my story to share. So, but I was going through a divorce, and so actually writing this cookbook helped me keep my mind off of other problems that were going on in my life. But then of course, it all came back to bite me, right? Because when I was done writing the cookbook, then that's when, you know, all the stress resurfaced. Like, the worst you can do is just to put everything under the carpet and ignore it. So I've been doing that for a little bit, and then it caught up with me. And then my go-to strategy for me, I love therapy because I need to talk. I need to get it out. So, to reduce stress, I regularly go to see my therapist. I don't go like every week, like all year. It's like I have more periods where I go more, then I go less. And then I love journaling, again, to just get it out of myself. And exercise, nothing like crazy, right? I'm not training for a marathon, but just exercise and getting outside and connecting with nature is really big for me. It's very grounding.
And you're in a beautiful part of the world to do that too.
Yes, in Colorado here, in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains, definitely. And then connecting with friends, with people who bring you joy and who bring something precious into your life.
I think you might have talked about that on Eileen's recent Phoenix Helix podcast on joy.
Yes, Recipe for Joy.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's a good one for people to check out, actually. It's a particularly good episode.
But so I don't think that there is a one-size-fits-all recipe to manage your stress. It's very individual, and everybody will have something different.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. And I think it's very easy for us to, well, there's two things I think with stress. The first one is when we start out on AIP, often we don't recognize just how much stress affects us. And that's mainly because we have navigated the world in a highly stressed state for so long that is our normal. So we're sort of working in fourth gear when we need to learn how to work in second or first. And it's like changing your diet, right? It takes a level of commitment and trying different stress management techniques out for size. And it's different for all of us. Yoga doesn't have to be your thing. Yoga might be somebody else's thing, So,
You're a yoga convert.
Yeah, for me, it is about finding, building relationships with people who resonate with you, who talk your language, so that you enjoy spending time with them. I happen to find a yoga teacher who is also a psychotherapist. I don't see her for psychotherapy, but it dribbles across into her yoga practice, and it works for me. I like her. She's very pragmatic. But there are lots of things that you can use to mitigate your stress. So it was always interesting to hear from other people how they do that.
There is one thing also that I would like to add, and that I discovered more recently, is the power of doing nothing. It's okay to do nothing. Like you wake up in the morning and you come down in the kitchen and you have your little cup of whatever warm beverage you like, and you just sit there and you look out the window and...
So how do you do that, Sophie? How do you do that? How do you train yourself to do nothing, to be present, to be intentionally just in the moment without thinking that stream of consciousness, right? Oh, the dishwasher needs emptying. Oh, I haven't fed the dog yet. Oh, I must clean the windows. All of these things that come. How do you stop yourself from doing that? Or how do you just notice that thought and release it? What's the process that we're going into some different areas.
I've never been good at watching the thoughts go by as a cloud. I've never been good at that because I have to get up and do it. I think that you just have to let the moment come up. And if it's the right moment and that you feel like you are relaxed and that you are enjoying the space in which you are and you are enjoying the moment, take advantage of it. Like take 5 minutes of doing nothing. And it could be anywhere. But don't force it. Like it's like anything. If you have to force it, it's not going to work. But doing nothing is very powerful.
I agree with you. Doing nothing is powerful, but I also think that it can be very challenging. Mon says it's her toughest lesson, doing nothing. I like doing nothing at the beach with my feet in the sand, bare feet in the sand, listening and watching the water, and I'm lucky enough to live near the beach. unlike you in Colorado.
Your toes in the sand.
Absolutely, it's just the best feeling, and it's a good way to do nothing. So, all right. So, one question from Susan, who is just starting out on AIP. I know I need to be eating liver.
Liver.
What is the best way to ease into preparing liver?
Okay, I think that what's putting off people with liver is the fact that it's bloody, right? So I would recommend to just brace yourself and wash it under cold running water, and then you pat it dry, and then it becomes like just a regular piece of meat. And then you start doing your thing, you cut it or whatever you need to do. But for me, it's just like, sorry if it's too much information, but just getting the blood off of the thing.
So what I would say, I agree with you. And you have a fantastic liver pate recipe for people who are just starting out on eating liver, which happens to be one of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet. So it's a big part of your autoimmune experience or caper. So I would say the thing with liver is it's very important to eat it fresh. So buy it as fresh as you can and ask your butcher or your farmer or whoever how long it's been out of the animal, essentially. How fresh is it? And if once you've done that, you've got it home, you've washed it and patted it dry like Sophie has suggested, if you're going to eat it that day, that's great. If not, then you want to portion it up and put it straight into the freezer, because liver becomes more livery with every day.
Earthy.
Yeah. And I think also it's good to start with poultry, because poultry is less earthy, if you like, in flavour than beef or pork or bison if you're in the northern hemisphere. I've never seen kangaroo liver, but I imagine that's quite earthy. So yeah, and just play with it. You know, you can wash it and dry it and then throw it straight into the food processor and puree it up and put it into ice cube trays so that you can pop an ice cube tray or two into braisers. You can put a little bit into burger patties and into meatloaves. And sneak it in, you know, because it's such a good way to maximize all of those nutrients. So it's a good habit to get into. And Mon is saying pate, and you've got a great.
That's the easiest. And pate, you can freeze it and then thaw it. The thing with liver is that you have the day you cook it, you have to eat it. Like, it doesn't do for leftovers. Don't try to eat it.
It gets rubbery. Yeah.
And one last thing, if you can't bring yourself to eat liver, it's okay. You can still do the autoimmune protocol. I would like to say this.
And the other thing is, you're bringing up some great information, Sophie. If you can't eat liver, next cab off the rank, the next choice for nutrient density is oysters. So oysters are really, really, really nutrient dense. So
or whole sardines.
Absolutely. So Amanda is just being a skite now. She does chicken, duck, turkey, lamb, and rabbit, and she loves it all. So
like liver from all. Okay, all right. She's a champion.
She is a champion. So one last question, Sophie.
Yeah.
Because I'm very conscious that we're taking up your Friday evening.
I'm so glad to be here with you. We're taking up your Saturday morning.
You know what? I'm having breakfast cooked for me as I speak. So
you're lucky. Aren't you missing the farmers market?
Not on this weekend. It's the first weekend in 12 years. And Tanya was actually going to come up and do the market for the first time from where she lives. And instead she's joining us. So it's lovely to have her on the call. So yeah, I love this about your cookbook. It's all about making the AIP framework more accessible and more sustainable through simplifying it. So what is your number one top tip, Sophie's top tip for making AIP simple?
I would say, sorry, maybe it's going to be like very, uninteresting, but like keep things simple. Don't try to recreate your old favorites, like make a version of, your favorite pizza, because that's labor intensive. Don't try to start baking right away, because that's labor intensive and the ingredients are expensive. Just keep it simple, like protein, like a quarter of your plate protein, 3/4 of your plate vegetables, whichever vegetables you want. Usually I do a mix of high and low starch, like for example, broccoli, sweet potato, and chicken. And that's it. That's the main bulk of my diet. Even me, like I'm a cook, I write cookbooks and I blog about food. I eat very simply. So keep it simple.
I agree with you. I think keeping it simple. Mine would be focus on nutrient density. Focus on the things that you can have.
But if you take away all processed foods and that you are only working with ingredients that you would find just like that in your garden or at the farm, like totally unprocessed, they are going to be nutrient dense. There is no other way. It's the good stuff that you start working with. You can't go wrong. Like that was my compass at the beginning for food on AIP. Could I find this growing in my garden? If the answer was yes, it was on my plate. If the answer was no, it was off. And then can you find it, running around, at the farm or swimming in the sea? If the answer is yes, eat it. If not, just get rid of it.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think there is a lot of talk about reading labels. And the thing on AIP is what labels? Because you're eating food that doesn't need labels.
Yeah, if you have a label and if you have to read the different ingredients, it means it's processed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even in, sorry, my turn, your turn?
Yours.
Even on AIP, we have to watch it because it's easy to eat processed foods, right? You have to be careful. And if you eat something processed, like something that's baked, it's okay with healthy ingredient, but keep it low. Don't make it like the bulk of your diet. The bulk of your diet is meat and vegetables. And watch for sugars.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a sneaky one. I've lost all the comments, so I'm hoping that that doesn't mean that the broadcast has stopped. Which is a bit of a bummer because I was hoping to ask you guys if you had any questions and I can't see your comments anymore, which is a problem.
Did you touch something?
I didn't touch a thing. That's all right. We're coming near the end anyway.
Yeah.
I want to mention to everybody that I am going to pop a link in the comments to Sophie's cookbook on Amazon. I would love to invite you.
Did we talk about the giveaway?
I'm getting to that. So I'm going to pop this link in the comments, and I would love to invite you to go and check out the look inside feature on Amazon of the Autoimmune Protocol Made Simple by Sophie Van Tiggelen, and leave a comment with the recipe that you most want to try from Sophie's fabulous cookbook. And then I will be drawing by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, Sydney time, Australian Eastern Standard Time. That's 5 p.m. Mountain Time on Saturday. I will draw one lucky winner who will receive a signed copy of Sophie's fabulous cookbook, which, hand on heart, it's fantastic. I just love it. So,
thank you.
Soph, I want to take this opportunity to say thank you so much for joining us for this Facebook Live. It is such a joy to have you and have the chance to talk to you. You're such a leading light in this AIP community. How do people connect with you?
So my blog, so they can always send me an email from my blog. I get them all and I respond to them myself. Or you can find me on Instagram and drop me a line over there, or on Facebook. And so the way to find Instagram and Facebook, you just go to my blog, A Squirrel in the Kitchen, and at the top, above or under my picture, there are little icons with the social media, and you click on it and you will find me. Or maybe Joanna can leave a link in the comments as well.
I am very happy to do that. And I know that you are loving seeing all of these social media images of people cooking your recipes from the cookbook. So I want to encourage people to keep doing that, because as a recipe developer, it is such a buzz when you see people around the world trying out recipes that you've created. And it's just fabulous for me as your buddy to see all these people sharing their images, and keep them coming, because it's such a reinforcement to all the good work that you've done. So, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so you have a wonderful weekend. Wonderful weekend, everybody watching. Thank you so much for joining us. And over and out from Colorado and Sydney. Bye.
Bye.